When people discuss the quality of a project, reliability and validity are always foremost in their mind. This unit focuses on the idea of validity. There are two core concepts for research validity: internal validity and external validity. Internal validity focuses on the research design. Was the research design appropriately constructed to answer the research question? Are the people that are being studied the right people being studied to answer that question? External validity explores if the research is being applied to the right population. To whom can we generalize our research? Obviously, there is a relationship then between internal validity and external validity. If there's a problem with internal validity, there's going to be a problem with external validity. Take a moment to think about the connection between these two things. So when you are evaluating the work of others and your own work, you have to ask yourself, does the project address the proposed research question? Is the sample population that was used in the study the right population for this question? And to whom can this study be applied? When considering internal validity, what you're really asking is, are you measuring what you think you're measuring? Are you accurately capturing the variable you intended to measure? I'm going to focus in on the main types of validity. Traditionally, face, content, criterion, and construct are the most commonly discussed in research methods. Face validity is the most basic form of validity. It's literally looking at your instrument, in this case your survey, and asking, does it look credible? If you received this survey, would you take it? Does it, as our textbook puts it, ring true? So whenever you do a survey, at least when I do a survey, I always, once I set it up, take a moment and take it myself. And I take a moment to really pretend that I am just a person taking the survey. And if at any point I wonder what something means, then I have to do some editing. If at any point I'm confused, I think something doesn't look professional, then I need to fix that. This is what face validity is about. Every measure should be inspected for face validity. However, face validity alone is not evidence of measurement validity. It's the first step in developing that evidence. Content validity establishes the measure covers the full range of a concept's meaning. It's very important when you're looking at people's attitudes that you really get at what they think about something. Often, asking them only one question wouldn't really do that. Take the example we did in the course text regarding abortion and also the use of force by police. Asking individuals a single question about abortion or their attitude towards abortion and their attitude towards police use of force wouldn't really capture the range of opinions they have. Remember in Lab 8 when we created an index to capture that. So we could see that some people might be very willing to have a police use of force or might be strongly pro-choice or pro-life. Other people might fall somewhere in the middle. To establish content validity, you want to solicit the opinions of experts. Is there someone around here you can ask? Someone in our department maybe? Review the literature. By looking at what others have done and how others define this, especially experts within your field, you'll see all the dimensions of the concept. Finally, you can interview potential participants about that concept. What do they think it means? What do they think the components of that are? Construct validity deals with the operationalization of your variables. How well did you operationalize your variables? Is your theoretical concept in line with the questions you asked on our survey? Essentially, this is demonstrated over time through an accumulation of evidence, through testing the survey on subject populations. Content and construct validity are necessarily interrelated then. In order to have a solid construct, you must first have completed content validity. Establishing construct validity. To establish construct validity, you demonstrate that your measures are similar using statistical tools and tests. If no clear criterion exists, you can also find another concept that is similar to, but not the same as yours, and demonstrate that your scale operates similarly. In the case of discriminant validity, you would find something that is shown to be different from, or the opposite of what your concept measures, and you similarly test it to show that your construct is valid. Criterion validity is established when the scores obtained on one measure can be validated by looking at scores of the same measure with a different measurement tool. For example, if you wanted to create your own self-esteem scale, you could compare the results to the already validated Rosenberg self-esteem scale. In some cases, your research is predictive. In this case, you can test it by simply seeing how often the outcome you predict occurs. For example, if I believe that there's a better way to teach this class, I could validate that by demonstrating higher scores. External validity is to whom can the study be applied or generalized. It's a different set of concerns than the concerns one has when looking at internal validity. Ecological validity notes that generalizability is always limited by context, culture, portion of the population surveyed, the temporal period. For example, we wouldn't expect to be able to apply data we collect today to people living in different places or at different points in time. Researchers often want their studies to apply to a much larger group, but one always needs to consider the limitations of the study. Statistical conclusion validity is the use of inferential statistics to establish significance for our sample. You'll have an opportunity to learn how to do this during the course of this class. It's the use of tests and measures to establish the generalizability of a study. The thing is, if you're using a statistical conclusion validity, you have to assume a randomly selected sample. So though we'll get a chance to practice doing this, we can't really do it because our sample won't be randomly selected. Substantive validity looks more at how important are your findings and how influential are any relationships you find. In the social sciences, there may be many different factors that influence something. Is the relationship you found something that explains a great deal of what's going on in a process, or just a small piece of the puzzle? How meaningful are your findings? How useful will your findings be? Transferability refers to the issue of how useful your findings might be for others. Even though your study might not directly apply to a population, your theoretical findings, your methods, your insights might still be useful to other settings. Others may want to replicate your findings or replicate your study with different subject populations. Catalytic validity is only relevant for those doing what's called openly ideological work or activist sociology. It's research in which empowerment of the participants is part of the goal of the research. With catalytic validity, you're looking at how involved you got those people to be. How much were you a catalyst for social change in a community? what can you do to improve validity for our study? First and foremost, use the literature in developing your survey instruments. Consult with students and faculty. Consult your classmates and the instructor. And lastly, test your survey questions before you submit them next week.